Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's fall, it's beautiful, there's so much to do. We just got to get started. The list of things to do this beautiful fall weekend is large, but we got to start somewhere, and before it gets too late in the season, I had to do this first. So I'm finally winterizing the boat. I got it inside the garage when we hit the low in the 20s a couple nights in a row. So we hopefully prevented everything from freezing inside any of the motor parts here. So we just went ahead and ran it with some stabilizer in the fuel, and we're going to put some new lubrication up into the motor here, and we'll be good for the season. I think I'm going to keep it in my garage, but that means I have to make room in my other stall to put my car in. But I have all kinds of pallets of bonsai soil. I got a lot of work cut out for me. Plus I want to work on some trees. I got to rake the yard sometime yeah, you get the picture, right? We'll get to bonsai eventually though, I promise. Got the beautiful red maple behind us in our neighbor's yard with the colors. The colors have been amazing. Just came back from a beautiful fall trip up to the North Shore in Duluth area. We saw the Gooseberry Falls. Got some great photographs I can show you of the Gooseberry Falls. It's kind of interesting. Of all the times I've been to the Gooseberry Falls area and up north on the Superior Hiking Trail, especially when you're at a falls, you usually take picture of the waterfalls. Yeah, a lot of pictures of the water. I took more pictures of roots than anything else. A lot of exposed roots with all the runoff and the people that walk by, and so I got some pictures, some of the water, not very many, but a lot of roots. It was a great trip, so my wife and I had a chance to get up for the MEA weekend. I wasn't learning how to be a better teacher, I was learning how to be one with nature, and it was fantastic. But now we're back home. We've got Saturday and Sunday of the long 4-day weekend with a ton of household chores to do. A quick peek at the attic shows that I'm making some progress on the fall to-do list chores. I gotta make sure I don't stuff everything in here too much because it's got all the holiday stuff in the back, you know, the red and the green bins. The quest continues to always be more organized. Of course, the more bonsai you collect, the harder it is to keep organized with everything else in your life because you'd rather be doing bonsai work. The bikes are up there, up on the roof there. It's a shame we only used the bikes 2 times this year, but they're up for the season. Time to move on. Yeah, I mentioned the raking. I fixed the boat already. I've got to get the water pump system for the pond, that little heater I put in there, and the bubbler. I got to get that all cleared away this weekend when it's nice and warm, 70s today and tomorrow in sunshine. There's some trees on the bench. Some of them went into the cold frame. We put them back out. And before I do any of this, I wanted to show you a bench of things that happened in the last week or so. So let's shift over to the workbench here. To my left, your right. There's nothing like a bench full of stuff to do or things that you've done, and they gotta find a home eventually. So let's look at the fall bench here. First, a bit of sad news. So I had my new water collection system under the deck with my 255 drums. Well, I was getting rid of the water. I put as many water, 5-gallon buckets full of water as I could. And as I was tipping this one over to drain the rest of the water, it slipped from my hands and it cracked. So yeah, there's the barrel. So I threw the top half, recycled that. We'll take care of that one next time, but there's one less barrel to collect rainwater. So now I have to get another barrel if I can, but I got the 55-gallon blue one left. But there's all kinds of stuff on the table here. We've got my Siberian pine that I brought to a recent workshop where we saw Peter T and just got his opinion on it. We left it alone for the most part. I'm gonna do some stuff with that in the spring, maybe get it into a pot. What else we got here? Oh, I've got those Chinese elms that I got from Candace, and they're still growing wild and crazy. We're just gonna Well, eventually we want to get the leaves off of that thing, so when in the cold frame we don't have a lot of leaves collecting on the bottom here, but it still looks like it's in the middle of growing season. It's dark green leaves. We'll let it out in these last couple beautiful days. We'll get it in the cold frame eventually. I got a couple of Japanese maples here for you. So I was working with Peter T in our fundamentals group, and Peter T kindly took a look at some of these trees. I was very fortunate because of the 6 people that were supposed to work with Peter T that day, 3 of them couldn't make it for some reason. So we had 6 observers, 3 workers. I was one of them, so I got to bring extra trees, thank goodness I did, and have him give me his opinion on the trees. So as you can see with my curly, bendy Japanese maple, I've got some great movement on this one, and we pretty much chopped it down to, you know, the nubs again. Very Peter T style. We're going to totally hope for some more back budding in the spring here when it's all full of energy, and we'll get some new growth here. This was a branch that was a little bit too big, and instead of competing 2 branches, we're going to make this thinner, hope something new comes out here, and it could be a primary branch someday instead of having a double Y-type trunk. So we're going to get this thing off eventually and hope new growth comes about. But that tree is just a bit of a fun curly tree, but we had noticed a couple of bite marks from the I think squirrels again. So Peter T was talking about how squirrels will bite trees to mark their territory, and they marked that one up, and hopefully that's all going to heal in time. So that's that one. And then this one was just my long skinny one that had some dieback a couple of years, I think 2 seasons ago. We let this thing go crazy, and then we just cut everything back. He suggested leaving this one for our runner to get thicker. We've got some buds that will come out hopefully from here. We cut here and left some dieback and a couple potential buds here. This one could become a branch as well and get some buds back lower. And then we just put a little bit of wire on here to get these more outward facing, and we'll see which one of these, this, or this, we keep in the future, depending on how things bud back. So it's a little bit of an odd tree in the back with where it got. We had cut it in big chops before, but we're hoping this thing does some good things next year and pushes out some great growth. And just like the other tree, we have some we have just a little bit of a bite mark, like something just like gnawed. It almost looks like a vampire. 2 teeth, boom, got it in there. At least it's in the back of the tree. The other thing Peter T mentioned about this pot, he said this pot is probably a little bit too shallow for this stage of this tree because of all these roots now that are starting to be exposed. So next year we're going to repot this one, put it in a little bit deeper pot, and so we can cover this up to about here and let these continue to form. And we're going to spread out these roots and keep the ones that are good, and maybe make some cuts to initiate more growth and more division of these roots. So he wants this in a little bit deeper pot because of this exposure. It's sitting a little bit too high. And so next spring, this will be on the repot list. And then I wanted to show off the other Chinese elm that I have that's given some beautiful fall color. Kind of a real rich burgundy kind of reds on this Chinese elm. And again, this is another tree where the bark is just looking super gnarly, like things have tried to chew on it, or things. It's just, I hope it smooths out a little bit someday and looks like more like a traditional trunk. But this is the one that's kind of been placed over the side of a rock now instead of over a rock. And we're going to see what this thing does. So we're going to let this sit out for a couple more days as well. Just wanted to show you the nice fall color. We also have one of my remaining cotoneasters getting some fall color in here. I did put this in the cold frame when we had that cold spell. I don't remember why I thought I would do that. I thought I'd leave them in there, but we had such nice weather. We pulled it back out. Got the red berries on there. I'm changing some color here. So this tree is looking to shoot up some new shoots hopefully next year and give me some nice branches to work with. But there's one of my cotoneasters. And the last one up on the shelf today, well, notwithstanding the dead one over here. Yeah, we talked about that in a different show. We have the maple trident style. So literally the week before Peter T was to come and do the workshop with us, another piece of bark was chunked off right there. Don't know why. We cut this one a little bit shorter, hoping to still get some growth. It's still green. There's still life in this little piece right here. Look, it doesn't even look like it's changing much fall color at all in this one. There's one little red leaf right there, super pretty and small. But this is all new growth this year, so we left this one alone. We're going to leave this one to grow out next year, and we're going to leave this one for, oh, here comes some leaves off. There we go. We're going to leave this one for a, not an approach graft, but a thread graft. We're going to try to get some more branching down here. So this is coming from the back. It's a really odd branch, and we're going to circle this around, and we're going to try to make this a thread graft next year to get another branch up over here. We got this down here that is alive, this down here. This is an odd branch right here. We cut off the extra piece that was up here. And now we have this thin branch, and hopefully that'll take off next year, and we'll have this branch down here. So we got to be careful around that one and not bump that one off. So that is the trident maple. We cut everything off. This was a big branch up here. We left a little stub. We've got a couple of branches down here, little buds rather, that could take off and make some bifurcation down there. And again, we'll let this shoot up and then we'll cut it way back after the first flush of growth. We're thickening up the trunk. I was thinking about repotting this in the spring. It's been 2 years, so I probably will repot this and put it right back into this box. But I want to see if our root structure is doing that 360 pattern. But there's an update on the trident maple, and that was looked at with Peter T as well, one of my Peter T trees, hopefully to become a beautiful tree down the road. And just when I thought I was done, I have one more monster tree to show you. So let's show you that one. Whoa, yeah, there we have it. You probably can't even see the whole tree. Let me check. Sure, you can see the whole tree. So here's the story with this tree. Peter T came to our fall session, and he was going to bring, or we were going to get access to some Japanese maples. No, excuse me, Japanese black pines. And the market for the Japanese black pines have been pretty tough, and the prices have gone up, and the members of the club would have had to spend over $400 on a Japanese black pine. So they kind of scratched that and they went, what can we do? So Peter T and the leader of our fundamentals group, Dale, and his wife, they went to one of the nurseries close to town here and said, what can we do to replace the Japanese black pine? So for those of you that want kind of a replacement for a Japanese black pine, this might be an option for you. So this is an Austrian pine. So this Austrian pine is going to have just some similar features and qualities like a black pine. We can make these needles really much smaller. They had one variety there that had needles that were half this size. So the more branches we have, the smaller the needles are going to be. The more we bonsai this tree, then it's going to have some smaller needle structure in the future. I have a picture of me standing by the tree so I can show you that and how big the tree is. A pretty big tree. We cut about the top third off at the workshop. So as I spread it out here, right there, we chopped this one off. And this one, we had to dig down about 2 inches from the original nursery pot here. Then we put some soil back in the bottom, put it back on top, and look at all this extra. This branch was on the pot. So we were able to dig 3 more inches of this pot, and it made another little curve in the trunk that I didn't even see when I picked out this tree. I just love the subtle curve right here, and then it starts to curve back that way. Now, in talking with Peter T, we're going to probably chop it here in the future, and the tree will be from here on out. Beautiful big trunk, one of the biggest I have now. And of course, what you look for in a tree, in any species, is its ability to backbud on old wood. So look right here. This is backbudding on this Austrian pine. Look at this one down here. This is a really nice, about a half to an inch in size, by my finger here, that's budding above this branch. And we've got back buds here, this one right here. This right here is about 1 inch long, and it is back budding on old wood. So this tree, if healthy and taken care of, will back bud. So we chopped the top. We took a couple of these branches that had 3 and went down to our 2 to thin it out just a little bit. This one here has 2 now. This one has 2. This one already had 2. We got a couple of branches up here that we just cut off just because we knew we didn't need a lot of it. But we left a fair amount on there so it can get through the winter, not stress it out too terribly much. And this one should be able to stay out all winter long in my neighborhood, right? It doesn't have to be in a cold frame. If I have room, I might consider it. But I think I want this one to stay cold in this big old pot and frozen here in Minnesota until the springtime, where we will put it in a pot and lose about half of the soil, get it into a growing pot or a box like I had the trident maple in, and we'll go to town. So an Austrian pine. So this Austrian pine is sold right there. Sold to me. All right. So I'm super excited about this tree and what it could hold. Now it's super scary to get this large of a tree. Oh, and by the way, it was a third of the price of the Japanese black pine, a little less than a third of what we would have paid. So really not a bad, it's the most expensive tree that I have purchased to date. I think it's the most expensive by a few bucks. So not too horrible, and in about 3 to 5 years, this could be a stunning tree when all these branches get cut back in. We get the foliage size to shrinking up a little bit. We already have a big trunk, and it'll be fun to see this grow over the years. So that's the big surprise. Not a whole lot of work done on this tree in the workshop, but something to look forward to. So 5 of us or 6 of us got one of these trees, so we are going to follow the life of all our trees and get together and talk about them kind of in that study group format, and when Peter T's in town, and we're going to see how we're going to take care of these beautiful Austrian pines. It's the time of year where I get to jump into the pond and try not to scare the fish. Got to take the pump out first. I made sure the power was disconnected because I'm in water, and that's electricity. I kind of wondered why the water lily was doing so good this year, but there apparently was enough muck, and the roots went through the basket holes and just rooted in all the muck. That's quite amazing. I think I need an Anderson flat for how big this is. So the goal one day is to have a proper skimmer. But in the meantime, in and out go the pump. So I have an a bubbler that goes down the PVC pipe tube, sits out on the back end, plugs into the electrical air generator, and we have air bubbles. And then I have to attach the little mini ice heater, which will keep just a little bit of a hole in there for the gas to exchange so the fish don't perish. And that'll sit on top when we finally get our first little batch of ice. So we'll get it all hooked up and we'll be good to go. These poor fish are swimming around here all by this mucky water. I feel bad for them. I've scooped out some of the leaves from the pond. We got the uptake of water hose, the PVC all wrapped up here now. Most of the water is out of here except for a couple little dribbles of water, so that shouldn't crack the PVC in the wintertime. The ice will freeze around the outside of it, but we hope it's okay. If not, we'll make a fix in the spring. Here's the PVC pipe with the bubbler, and the bubbler's giving me just some bubblers here. This will stay on full time. And then we have the heat source that will float in here on the ice and keep a little air pocket open. We won't need that for a couple more weeks for sure. It's all housed underneath here, some purple insulation, and the plug goes over to the cabin cold frame, gives us our electricity. So now I have to trim some of the roots off of this massive water lily. We'll cut all the leaves off, we'll put that back in here, and it'll do its thing again next year because it did fine this past year. So we'll do that, add some more water to the tippy top of the pond, and that should be it for the fall. It's day 2 of this illustrious late fall weekend, and I got the winterized boat in my 3rd garage stall. So it fits in there with a little bit of an angle, I can go ahead and put in my snowblower here. And if I take my snowblower out, I can have access to my garage cold frame, which is super nice. So I was able to restack some of my soil on the other side of the boat, and we are in good shape for winter. Now it's far too windy for me to record today. We've got 30-mile-an-hour gusts, but I got some work to do out in the backyard, so I'll get some footage of the work that I'm going to be doing, and we'll talk over it in a little bit. The first task in the backyard was to defoliate the big lilac trees. Yes, once again, fungus on the leaves. I decided to get rid of all the leaves one last time and made sure to put all the leaves in my pocket and properly discard them as to not spread anything for next season. We'll try again next spring. I will likely hit the soil with my systemic fungicide and keep a close eye on the foliage. One viewer suggested some hydrogen peroxide for the leaves. Perhaps I'll add that to my arsenal as well. After the lilac defoliation, I also went ahead and defoliated the big Japanese maple. It was right there, why not? I ended my short bonsai tree work with my Jim Dandy winterberry. This tree finally shot out several back buds this year, so maybe next year I'll get a lot of budding out. It's a great time to make final prunes to our deciduous trees. Ryan Neal talks about a 2 to 3 week window after those leaves fall off those trees. I got this one just as they started to fall. Until we do it again, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll see you again real soon on the next one.